I'm Aaron Porras, and thank you for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, murdered Rabbi Raziel Shevah is put to rest in the West Bank. The Shin Bet drops some alarming terror statistics at the Knesset, and we'll show you the top 5 locations where you might find Israelis lending a helping hand. Stay tuned for the latest news in Israel. Hundreds have now gathered in the Jewish outpost of Havat Gilad to lay to rest the rabbi brutally murdered Tuesday in a drive-by shooting terror attack. The father of 6 was driving his car near the outpost, which is in the West Bank near the Palestinian city of Nablus, when a Palestinian car allegedly pulled up beside him and fatally shot him. Bulldozers scrambled this morning, moments before the funeral, to clear the first ever gravesite for the Havat Gilad outpost. Rabbi Raziel Shevah is the first member of the community to be laid to rest there. Education Minister and settlement advocate Naftali Bennett was also there to deliver the eulogy for the murdered rabbi. But the crowd soon drowned out his words, angrily demanding revenge for the act of terror. Mourners even shouted that Bennett's name should be, quote, blotted out for failing to safely and quickly advance Jewish expansion into the West Bank. Critics, however, say that settlements are illegally built on Palestinian land and destroy any reality of peace with the Palestinians. Even Israel currently considers the Havat Gilad outpost illegal, though in the wake of this murder, Defense Minister Lieberman is now considering options to legalize the outpost permanently. Finally, Israeli security forces have launched an intense manhunt for the rabbi's killer, but so far no arrests have been made. The Shin Bet recently boasted record numbers of prevented terror attacks, but despite these promising figures, the security agency has now also released alarming new statistics that show the rate of attacks have dramatically increased. In fact, they've tripled since United States President Donald Trump recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital on December 6th. There were 249 incidents reported in December throughout the West Bank, Gaza, and Jerusalem, most of them firebombings. Compare that to 84 in November and 71 in October. But the negative alleged consequences of President Trump's announcement don't stop there. With the heightened rate of attacks in mind, Israel was bumped into a number 2 position out of 4 on the United States' new travel warning system. The 2 signifies that the traveler should, quote, exercise increased caution when visiting that area, as opposed to a 1 meaning to exercise normal precautions. Interestingly, there has been a net decrease in attacks throughout the rest of Israel outside Jerusalem, going from 1 to 0. The travel warning can be explained when reading further. The West Bank, Gaza, and Israel have been paired together for a group rating of 2. But when specific details are read, instructions say not to travel to Gaza at all, to reconsider travel to the West Bank, and essentially just to be careful in Jerusalem. That being said, even Great Britain and Germany were rated a 2 under the new precautions. But with the new rating in place and threatening the economy, and the Shin Bet's warning delivered to the Knesset, Israeli officials are all on their toes. Well, despite the surge in terror, Prime Minister Netanyahu has just reiterated his support for President Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Speaking at the annual gathering of the Foreign Press, the Prime Minister says Jerusalem is a non-negotiable term for Israel at any cost.
Mr. Trump said something that is so self-evident. He said that the government, the seat of government of Israel is in Jerusalem. The Knesset, our parliament, is in Jerusalem. The judiciary, the Supreme Court, is in Jerusalem. You know that's not going to change. You know that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel under any deal, ultimate or not. Everybody understands, with a deal, without a deal, Jerusalem is Israel's capital, and therefore it makes sense also to move the American embassy there.
This speech comes on the heels of troubling statistics released by the Shin Bet, which say that terror attacks against Israel have tripled in the wake of Trump's bombshell announcement. The Prime Minister has taken the occasion to back another controversial United States policy shift, the possibility of cutting funds to the UN's Palestinian Refugee Agency, UNRWA. Netanyahu suggests that the money be instead diverted to different Palestinian groups, claiming the UN's current one supports, quote, fictitious problems. Trump has threatened to cut funding to the Palestinian Authority as well for refusing to negotiate on Middle East peace, but Palestinians say that they only refuse to do so as a reaction to Trump's Jerusalem speech, which effectively removes the United States as a fair and impartial negotiator. Many warn that cutting funds to the Palestinian Authority will only hurt the poorest Palestinians and cause even more chaos and violence. The United States is reviewing the matter now. Time will tell what happens. Israel is again in the international community's sights, but not for the usual reasons. No, Israel is now coming under fire for offering up to $9,000 to every Israeli citizen who wants to help remove African asylum seekers from Israel for deportation. Here to discuss this issue further are Ari Fold, the Assistant Director of Standing Together and an Israel advocate, and Asaf Weizen, a human rights attorney and the head of the legal department at the Hotline for Refugees and Migrants. Thank you both for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, so my first question is, there are upwards of 40 to 50,000 migrants around living in Israel. Why can't Israel absorb them? And I'll start with you, Ari.
Look, there are two problems here. First of all, the problem, the condition of people in, for example, southern Tel Aviv, whose life has turned into a living hell. Second, there's the compassion of Israel. In other words, people who are refugees, like we were in Nazi Germany, we want people to open the doors for that, so we would open the doors for refugees. There's an influx of tens of thousands of people who are not all considered refugees, and we don't have a responsibility on our own risk take people in just to take people in.
Asaf?
Well, first of all, since 2012, there are no newcomers. We have 40,000 people here. All of them are not being deported because they are refugees and asylum seekers. So the Israeli government, once someone is a foreign worker and he comes to a state which is not his own, the state can deport him. But once you're an asylum seeker or a refugee or entitled to international protection, you cannot be deported. And therefore, we have 40,000 people. The vast majority of them are Eritreans and Sudanese, both countries that suffer tremendous human rights violations. And this is why they are here, and this is why Israel never tried to deport people to Eritrea and Sudan.
So what do you make of this new plan to supposedly pay, individual citizens to join the cause?
No, the plan is actually to pay Rwanda, a country, an African country, $5,000 for each head they will receive, and to pay each asylum seeker that will agree, so-called, to leave to Rwanda, $3,500.
Well, it's both. It's because there's a new report now that they're going to be paying Israeli citizens to help in the fight to bring asylum. That's what we've been...
No, the issue is $5,000 for Rwanda and $3,500 to each asylum seeker. This comes pretty much to $9,000, so I guess this is the report, or this is the issue we're talking about. And the problem with this has been happening for a while now. The problem is that now Israel threatens asylum seekers in indefinite detention if they will not cooperate with their removal to Rwanda, which is not their country.
Right.
They are not going to be citizens or residents there.
So, okay, I want to bring this question back to you.
A couple of things. In terms of people who are asylum seekers or refugees, these are legal terms. The European Asylum Support Office in December 2016 made a very clear statement that the people of Eritrea can go back to their country. There was a court case in Switzerland, which they wanted to send the man back, and they said it's fine, he can go back there. Although he claimed that his army service is threatening his life, the courts in Switzerland said, excuse me, sir, false claim. So according to the international law, the European Asylum Support Office, which is the international power, said there's no problem for Eritreans to go back to Eritrea. So I don't understand. Again, we don't have a responsibility to take everyone who wants a better life.
Asaf, did you have a response?
So first of all, it's not true. It's not true. Let's start with facts. More than 90% of the Eritrean asylum seekers worldwide are recognized as refugees all over the world. In Canada, it's 97%. But I can make it easier. Instead of us fighting about facts that viewers cannot really agree about or watch, why Israeli government never deported not even one Eritrean to Eritrea if the situation there is so beautiful? Why? Right. The governments in Israel for the last 10 years are right-wing governments. We have Deri as the Minister of Interior, and before him we had Silvan Shalom, Gilad Erdan, Gideon Saar, Eli Yishai. All of them are not leftist. Not even one of them tried to deport people to Eritrea. Why?
It's not, again, there were these camps, which I don't like even to see them, that were open. They were trying to solve the problem. It wasn't being solved. Also, the Supreme Court blocked the problem.
Well, I think...
But right now we have a situation in Israel. We have 40 to 60,000, depending on the numbers.
So that's what I wanted to get back to, actually, because as Asaf stated, we haven't really had any new coming immigrants and refugees and asylum seekers coming to Israel in several years now, leaving us with between 40 and 50,000 people, roughly. So wouldn't it be more cost-effective, or why wouldn't it be more cost-effective or easier even to take that money that Israel is planning on spending and using it, instead of deporting these people to Rwanda and paying Rwanda, why not use that money to integrate them into Israeli society?
The answer is very simple. First of all, the Prime Minister of Israel said it is already, it's a security issue and it's a social issue as well. But again, the problem is the following. Our responsibility as moral people is taking refugees. Somebody wants a better life, that's very nice, but they can't come illegally and then claim I have rights to be here. Israel right now and southern Tel Aviv, again, there are facts. It's a living hell for the people in southern Tel Aviv.
Well, I mean, I, for one, live in South Tel Aviv.
Okay.
and
I live
disagree
in
with
South
you,
Tel
but-
Aviv and I disagree. I
Okay,
live in South Tel Aviv,
there's
in Neve Sha'anan.
demonstrations all the time, and the crime
From
rate
both
is,
sides,
The
yeah.
crime,
Hold on.
the crime rate is up in those areas where these
Not
people are
according
Well,
to
living.
the
I'd
police.
like to give the final word. Yeah. What's your answer?
The world is under the biggest humanitarian and refugee crisis since the Second World War. We have 66 million asylum seekers and displaced people worldwide. In Israel, we have only 40,000. It's a problem. It's almost nothing compared to what the world is facing. It's less than 0.5% of the population of Israel. Can't we help them? Can we take them and give them shelter since we are here for 10 years now? It doesn't make sense that Israel will be the only country that doesn't recognize refugees at all.
Can I have to say,
Final words.
Final
because
word.
I
It's just
really
not
must
true.
end.
We have less than 1% recognition rate of refugees in Israel.
Switzerland sent
Final.
them back to Eritrea.
No, it's lie. It's a lie.
The European asylum so they can go back.
Unfortunately, gentlemen, I'm going to have to cut it off right there. Thank you both for coming in.
Thank
Thank you for having us.
And speaking with us on the subject. All right, now, disturbing new allegations are emerging in the now multiple lawsuits accusing Delta Airlines of discriminating against Jews and Israelis. The details of the lawsuits contain many stories of alleged anti-Semitism, tolerated and even perpetuated by management, though the airline denies any such discrimination. A Jewish mechanic employed by the airline has just come forward saying his manager would accuse him and other Jews of, quote, killing kids in Gaza. The employee says management would make anti-Semitic slurs and jokes about circumcision, and when he complained to HR, the company essentially blew it off, asking the employee to figure out the punishment. From that point on, the manager was given free rein to assign the employee to humiliating, even unsafe working conditions. He was once commanded to repair an overflowing toilet and told that he had to, quote, clean all the Jewish shit out of all these planes, end quote. These disturbing stories echo a similar lawsuit filed against Delta last week. Those allegations also include claims of Delta management encouraging anti-Semitic slurs and attitudes among staff, including deriding Jewish passengers who request kosher meals or pray during the flight. One plaintiff says Delta fired him for sharing his travel benefits with a Jewish friend, and that when planes would land in Tel Aviv, the staff would refer to it as Hell Aviv. In light of these disturbing claims, Delta says they strongly condemn the allegations and maintains that the company has zero tolerance for discrimination of any kind. All right, now good news for the Israeli blood supply, as thanks to a joint effort between the Israeli Magen David Adom Blood Services, the Israeli AIDS Task Force, the Israeli LGBT Task Force, and Knesset member Meirav Ben-Ari, members from the LGBTQ+ community will now be happily invited to donate blood. Starting as soon as April 2018, the Magen David Adom paramedic services will allow men who've engaged in homosexual sex to donate blood. Further, Israel will be adopting the same donation screening practices that the United States Food and Drug Administration and health authorities in Europe use. Under the new plan, which Magen David Adom Director General Eli Bin called an important step, LGBT donors' blood specimens will be taken, separated from its plasma, frozen, and then kept in quarantine for 4 months. In 4 months' time, when the donor comes for a second donation, if he passes the screening tests again, both the second and first donation will then be approved for patient use. Using this system, certain donors will be double-checked for eligibility, and infections, diseases, and viruses will still be kept from the public blood supply. Knesset member Ben-Ari, who also chairs the LGBT lobby, said he was happy to take part in the solution and that, quote, for years there was a frustrating situation in which LGBTs could not donate blood, and when they did, they had to lie about their sexual orientation. Today, this is an important historic step towards equality, end quote. Many restrictions on donations from Ethiopian migrants living in Israel have also now been lifted. The East African nation of Zambia is now struggling with an outbreak of cholera, and now a small delegation of Israeli medical specialists from the Shevah Medical Center in Ramat Gan has flown down to help take care of the problem. Included in the delegation are 2 physicians and a water engineer who arrived just last week to help stave off the growing outbreak. At least 60 people have already died from cholera in Zambia, and as many as 2,500 more are said to have been infected since September. According to the Israeli team's evaluation, many water wells in the area of the capital of Lusaka have already been contaminated, and to stem the spread of the disease, schools, marketplaces, churches, and more have all been closed down. Even if curfew has been put in place, but regardless of Zambia's efforts, much more is needed. A second Israeli delegation, complete with 2 more physicians, a lab technician, and 2 nurses, is set to join the first group today and set up a mobile support lab. Dr. Yitzhak Kreis, the Director General at Shevah Medical Center, released a statement saying The innovative medical expertise and tactics employed by our experts are today being dedicated to helping the people of Zambia and saving as many lives as possible from the tragic cholera outbreak. Sheba Medical Center's goal, which echoes the ethos of Israel, is to save lives and make a positive global impact, aka the principle of Tikkun Olam at its finest. All right, now it's only January, but there's already tons of amazing new entertainment hitting and featuring the Holy Land. The creator of Everybody Loves Raymond has just come to Israel hunting for the world's best food, and all-star comedian Chris Rock brought down the house in his first ever appearance on stage in Tel Aviv. With loads of Israeli television at the top of Netflix queues worldwide, the new Netflix original series Somebody Feed Phil features one of my favorite things about the country, the food. The show stars creator and food lover Phil Rosenthal trying to track down the yummiest grub all over the world, bringing him on adventures from Lisbon, Mexico, New Orleans, Bangkok, and of course Tel Aviv. Israelis actually saw Rosenthal filming the show a few months ago, stuffing his face in some of Tel Aviv's best restaurants, shops, and markets. The series drops tomorrow, featuring an entire episode featuring the Holy Land. Chris Rock's world tour, which just split sides here in Tel Aviv as well, is also set to premiere exclusively as a Netflix special. Joking about both his divorce and the BDS boycott, Rock told audiences, quote, "I lost so much money, I'm doing shows in Israel." Jerry Seinfeld actually performed here in Israel not too long ago as well. No better way to start the new year than with a smile. It seems that Israel has no shortage when it comes to talented groups using their music to promote coexistence. And of course, there are no surprises when it turns out to be women leading the charge. So here with me in the studio now is Rakefet Lapid and Lubna Rifi. Thank you so much for coming in. Two singers with the Rana Women's Choir. Thank you again for coming in. So tell me, what is it that the Rana Women's Choir does specifically? How are you promoting coexistence?
Well, we are 17 Arab and Jewish women, Jewish, Muslim, and Christian women from Jaffa.
All from Jaffa?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And we've been singing for 10 years.
Wow.
So it's been a long road for us. And singing together is actually coexistence.
So how did you form this choir? How did that come about?
Well, I think it was Mika, our founder and conductor. She actually, I think, came to live in Jaffa. She always tells it as she felt she had to do something about the situation here, and her skills is in music, as we can see. It turned out to be a very good skill. Right. And she actually she looked for us and founded this choir, and she's been leading it ever since.
All right, well, I want to play just a really short clip, actually, from one of the songs that you've released. All right, we're going to turn to that right now. So, I mean, we can tell just from the lyrics that were posted on screen, this is a serious subject. It's not like, your choir is shying away from anything. You're really diving straight into the whole idea of coexistence, aren't you?
Well, I think the fact that we first of all, we're doing something we love together.
Yeah.
And that made us understand much better each other, because it made us listen. We have some songs which you can call political, not in the way of the way they're going, but yes, we are definitely against violence. Sure. And we have songs talking about wishing for non-violence and for being together. We sing a lot of women's songs. We show out the fact that we're all the same more than actually pounding in messages. I mean, if we have two lullabies in Hebrew and in Arabic, which basically have the same lyrics and they are also mixed together in almost the same rhythm and music, I think it's moving and it tells everything. We're all the same. We're all mothers. We all sing to our babies. We all want them to grow. And, in a way, pounding it. We have some songs which are very serious, but
it's you have the whole kind of a big range here.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the push on Indiegogo.
Today is the first day the campaign is launched on Indiegogo, and we have been an independent choir for almost 2 years. We have no financial support from anyone except like for a few donations here and there, and we really need the support of people to record and produce our first album. So today is the day, and we hope everybody will go into the link or look us up on Facebook, Rana Choir.
Yeah.
All the details are there with the video clip.
Where can you be seen or heard, performing?
Go into our Facebook, and it all is published there.
Right.
We just had 2 very big performances in Tel Aviv, so I don't think we'll have another one very close by.
All right, well, everybody watching, keep that in mind. The Rana Women's Choir, thank you so much again for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, now hoping to cash in on the massive feminist icon that is Gal Gadot, American beauty brand Revlon has just signed the Israeli Wonder Woman actress to become the global brand ambassador for their new Live Boldly campaign. Taking to Twitter, Gadot excitedly wrote, "So happy to announce that I've joined the Revlon family and I'm helping launch the Live Boldly campaign. Stay tuned, it's going to be beautiful," end quote. And it's exactly Gadot's confidence and attitude that Revlon is hoping will rub off on their product. Speaking to WWD.com earlier this week, Gadot said first that makeup definitely has a place in feminism, but elaborated by saying that feminism isn't about hating men or burning bras or fighting anyone. It's about, first of all, equality and freedom of choice, and I think that in this world we should all be feminists, and whoever is not is a sexist. Such comments and the deal with Revlon all come at the heels of the ongoing sexual harassment case in Hollywood. Just earlier this week, Gadot was making even more feminist statements at the Golden Globes by wearing black in solidarity with victims of sexual harassment. And now ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh is here to give us this week's Top 5.
What better way to get to know the Holy Land than to come travel the country while doing something positive for society? Well, I'm here to give you the top 5 volunteer programs in Israel. At number 1, we have the WOOF organization, a worldwide organic farm volunteer program offered here in the Holy Land. WOOF is a movement looking to link volunteers with organic farmers in order to promote cultural and educational experiences, all while helping build a sustainable global community. Check out the WOOF organization website to see where else in the world volunteering can take you. At number 2 on our list is the Sar El IDF volunteer program, encouraging volunteers worldwide to come to the Holy Land and experience life in Israel. Working in IDF warehouses, taking guided tours of Israel, and educational lectures on Jewish and Israeli topics. All of this in an effort to promote Aliyah, as well as to help encourage positive new friendships and ambassadors for Israel. Doesn't get much better than that. Yad Sarah is 3rd on our list and reportedly the largest voluntary organization in the Holy Land, providing services that help make life a bit easier for the sick, disabled, and elderly. Yad Sarah has more than 100 branches throughout the country and is run by more than 6,000 volunteers, saving the Israeli economy hundreds of millions of dollars in medical costs. Win-win situation. Number 4 is going to absolutely melt your hearts. The Israeli Guide Dog Center is the only certified guide dog school in the Middle East. Their main goal, to provide as many guide dogs as possible to blind and visually impaired Israelis, in an effort to help them with safe mobility as well as integration into society. People coming out to help have their pick of volunteer programs, either with the dogs themselves or the clients, so take your pick. Number 5 on our list are the Pantry Packers. Every month, the Pantry Packers team delivers crates of food and household maintenance supplies to Israel's poorest families and senior citizens. A packing plant is located in Jerusalem where volunteers, visitors, and tourists are welcome to come help pack food staples, which are then placed in the crates. It's a fun way to meet new people, travel Israel, and help out the community. That's it for today's Top 5. Back to you.
All right, now it's time for our Hebrew word of the day. Israeli Wonder Woman Gal Gadot has just become the new feminist face of Revlon, and that's why today our word is ipur, which is how you say makeup in Hebrew. Now, you may not realize it, but I'm not ashamed to say it. At this very moment, I am indeed wearing ipur or makeup on my face. Now, it's not something I do all the time. No, for me, ipur is all for the cameras. But then again, when Halloween or Purim rolls around, yeah, maybe a little bitty pool. It helps with the David Bowie costume. Get to the next level, I know a few people who take up a whole hour. They wake up early to get their ipur perfect. But if you ask me, I say true beauty is what's beneath the ipur. Again, unless you're trying to pull off David Bowie, and then you kind of need it. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight is expected to be partly cloudy, but fairly warm with a low of about 53 or 12 degrees Celsius. Skies over the weekend should be sunny as temperatures will rise through Saturday to an unseasonably hot 70 degrees or 21 degrees Celsius. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.42 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Israel English News and on Twitter at ILTV News. I'm Aaron Porras, and thank you for watching.